Back together or just broken. Shen Yue and Xiao Zhan leave Wang Yibo behind. The sky outside the hospital was gray. Not the kind that promised rain, but the kind that matched the silence hanging inside the corridors. Wang Yibo lay in bed, his body pale, still healing from the collapse that nearly claimed his life. The machines beside him beeped in a steady rhythm. But there was something different about the way the air sat in the room that morning. It was too still, too quiet. No one had spoken for the last 10 minutes. The nurse who had come in earlier had left quickly. She said she was giving them space. But in truth, even she could sense what was unraveling. Wang Yibo blinked slowly. His gaze locked on the door. He remembered the soft knock before it closed. He remembered Shen Yue whispering something to Xiao Zhan. He remembered Xiao Zhan pausing, looking back at him, and then walking out with her. Together. No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. Outside the hospital, a different storm was brewing. It started with a single photo posted online. Then a video. Then dozens of them. Shen Yue and Xiao Zhan, side by side, leaving the hospital with serious expressions. Heads down. Not holding hands. Not smiling. But undeniably together. The internet exploded. Was this what it looked like? Had Xiao Zhan given up on Wang Yibo? Was Shen Yue back in the picture? Or was this something else entirely? Fan pages that had once celebrated their marriage now split in half. Hashtags began to trend. Some praising Xiao Zhan for being strong. Others accusing him of betrayal. Some defending Shen Yue. Others ripping her apart for showing up in the first place. But inside room 308, none of that mattered. Wang Yibo was awake, alone, and trying not to feel abandoned. He shifted slowly, the motion still painful. But he needed to move. He needed to prove to himself that he was still here, that he still had control over something. Anything. He reached for the glass of water on the tray beside him. His fingers trembled. The glass tipped over. Water spilled across the bed. He closed his eyes, frustration swelling in his chest. Then came the tears. Silent, uncontrollable, and painfully quiet. He had survived the collapse, survived the weight of his own mind, survived the crushing silence of the psychiatric ward. But this quiet moment of being left behind, it broke something different inside him. In the car, Xiao Zhan sat in the passenger seat beside Shen Yue. Neither of them had spoken since they stepped out of the hospital. The city passed by in slow motion, and with every streetlight, with every red signal, the weight in Xiao Zhan's chest grew heavier. He thought of Yibo's face when they left. Blank. Still. Watching. He didn't explain why he needed to leave. Didn't even say when he would be back. He just walked out. And now he couldn't stop replaying the moment over and over in his mind. Shen Yue finally spoke. He didn't look angry. She said softly, "When we left." He just looked empty. Xiao Zhan turned to her. His voice raw. "I should have stayed." She didn't respond immediately. Then said, "Then why didn't you?" He looked away. "I don't know." Shen Yue leaned back against the seat. The silence returned. But this time it wasn't peaceful. It was sharp, uncomfortable, and full of unsaid things. The cafe they stopped at was one they had visited years ago. All three of them. Before everything became headlines. Before the world learned their names as a trio. Now, it felt like a ghost town. They sat by the window, ordered 2 cups of tea. Neither touched theirs. Shen Yue finally broke the silence again. "Do you still love him?" Xiao Zhan didn't answer immediately. Then nodded slowly. "Yes. More than ever." "Then go back," she said simply. "Because if you don't, you'll lose him for real this time." Back in the hospital, Wang Yibo had turned off his phone. He couldn't look at it. Not with all the noise waiting inside. He didn't want to see himself trending again. Didn't want to read articles about his health. Didn't want to see theories about his marriage. His mind wasn't strong enough for that yet. The nurse returned. She brought fresh sheets, a new glass of water, and a message. "They'll be back soon," she whispered gently. He didn't answer. Didn't even nod. Because what if they didn't? Hours passed. He tried to rest. But his dreams were loud. Flashes of voices. Paparazzi. Arguments. Screams that only existed in his memory. He woke up to the sound of someone entering. He opened his eyes slowly. It wasn't Xiao Zhan. It wasn't Shen Yue. It was their daughter. She walked in with Xiao Zhan's sister. She held a picture in her hand, and her small face lit up when she saw him awake. "Baba," she whispered. "You scared me." He reached for her, fought back tears, and pulled her gently to his side. "I'm okay," he whispered back. "I'm still here." She showed him the picture she had drawn. It was of the three of them, together, smiling, holding hands. He stared at it for a long time. Then finally, he smiled. Xiao Zhan and Shinyu returned just after sunset. They walked into the hospital lobby quietly. No cameras this time. No crowd. Just silence. They stepped into the elevator. Neither spoke. When the doors opened on the third floor, Xiao Zhan turned to Shinyu. "I need to do this alone." She nodded. He walked slowly down the hallway, heart pounding, every step louder than the last. When he opened the door to room 308, Wang Yibo was sitting up, his daughter sleeping in the chair beside him, the drawing still in his hand. Their eyes met. Neither said anything for a moment. Then Yibo spoke, his voice low. "You left." Xiao Zhan stepped forward. "I know. I shouldn't have." "Why did you?" Yibo asked. Xiao Zhan sighed. "I got scared. Not of you. Not of the hospital. But of everything else." "Of what?" "Of failing you again. Of standing here and not knowing how to fix it. Of feeling like I'm not enough." Yibo looked away. "You were enough when I was unconscious, but not when I opened my eyes." Xiao Zhan walked closer, sat on the edge of the bed. "I love you," he said, "even when I mess up, even when I don't say it right. I love you, and I'm not leaving again." They sat in silence. But this time, it didn't hurt. Outside the door, Shinyu leaned against the wall, tears in her eyes. Then quietly, she walked away. The silence in room 308 was no longer gentle. It was loud. It pressed against the walls. It breathed down Xiao Zhan's neck as he stood in front of the man he had almost lost twice. Wang Yibo looked thinner than he remembered, calmer, quieter, but the storm inside his eyes hadn't changed. He didn't look angry. He didn't look relieved either. He looked like someone who had stopped hoping anyone would stay. Xiao Zhan sat down, not beside the bed, but across the room. He needed to say something. He needed to break the silence. But the words felt like bricks. Heavy, unmovable. Wang Yibo spoke first. "You left with her." His voice was calm. Too calm. And that terrified Xiao Zhan more than shouting ever could. "I didn't mean to," Xiao Zhan said. "I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't know what to do." "You didn't have to do anything," Yibo whispered. "You just had to be here." He looked down at his hands. Bandaged. Thin. Shaking. "I opened my eyes and you were gone." The words sliced through the room. "I wasn't ready," Xiao Zhan said again. "I know that sounds like a terrible excuse. But the truth is, I was terrified of seeing you wake up and not want to see me." Wang Yibo scoffed softly. "You're my husband. You're the only face I wanted to see." Then he looked up. "But you weren't there." "She was." "That's not fair," Xiao Zhan said. "She came because she cared, not because she wanted to replace anything." "I know," Yibo said, but it still hurt. There was silence again, this time fuller, heavier. Then Yibo turned his face toward the window. "I waited 5 years for you to fight for us. I thought maybe this time you would." Xiao Zhan stood up, walked over to him, knelt beside the bed. "I'm fighting now. I know it's late, but I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." Yibo didn't answer. He just stared out the window. "I love you," Xiao Zhan said quietly. "I know," Yibo replied. "But sometimes, love comes too late." Outside the room, Shinyu waited by the vending machine. She watched every nurse, every doctor, every shadow that moved toward the corridor. She hated being here, not because of Yibo, but because of what her presence triggered. There was a time when she was welcome, when the three of them shared jokes, plans, dreams. But that time was gone. Now her name trended alongside accusations. Now her face sparked debates. Now every move she made looked like a threat. Her phone buzzed again. Another comment, another edit, another claim that she was trying to steal back what never belonged to her. She looked up. Her reflection in the vending machine glass looked tired, broken. Then she heard the door open. She turned, expecting an ace. But it was Xiao Zhan. He didn't say anything. He just leaned against the wall beside her. I didn't want to make things worse, she said quietly. You didn't, he replied. I did that on my own. They stood there. Two people who once cared for the same man in different ways. Two people caught in a story they didn't ask to be written this way. He asked about you, she said. Xiao Zhan nodded. I figured he would. Do you want me to leave? She asked. He paused, then said, no, but maybe let me try again. Just me. She nodded, pulled her cap lower, and walked slowly down the corridor. When Xiao Zhan re-entered the room, Yibo hadn't moved, but his eyes were open, still on the window. Do you remember the night we got married? Xiao Zhan asked. Wang Yibo blinked slowly. Which part? The very end. When the lights were off and you said, no matter what comes, don't walk out unless I push you out. Yibo smiled faintly. You said that first. Not me. And I meant it. Xiao Zhan said. I broke it. But I meant it. I still mean it. Wang Yibo closed his eyes. For a second, there was peace. Then he said, I want to believe you, but I don't know how to forget the feeling of waking up alone. You don't have to forget, Xiao Zhan whispered. Just let me try to rewrite the rest of it. The next morning, the press was already outside the hospital. Drones flying overhead. People lining the street. A photo had leaked. Xiao Zhan sleeping on the couch in Yibo's room. Wang Yibo awake, staring at him. Fans were in meltdown again. Some called it healing. Some called it fake. Others just watched silently. No one knew what to believe anymore. Shinyu checked out of the hotel. She left quietly. No cameras followed her. She didn't say goodbye, but she slipped something into the nurse's hands before she left. A letter. No name. No explanation. Inside the envelope was a sketch of 3 people, one holding a child, all smiling. It was her way of saying, no matter what, this was once real, and part of her still wished it could be again. Inside room 308, a doctor entered. He carried a chart, his face unreadable. Xiao Zhan stood up immediately. Wang Yibo tried to sit straighter. There's something we found in the scans, the doctor said. It's not life-threatening, but it's concerning. What is it? Yibo asked. We need to run more tests, the doctor said. There's something unusual in the results. It could be nothing, or it could explain the fatigue, the collapse. Xiao Zhan's face tightened. Another threat. Another wait. How long? He asked. A few days, the doctor said. We'll need full monitoring. And what do we do in the meantime? Yibo asked. Rest, the doctor said. And stay calm. Stay calm. The words echoed in Xiao Zhan's mind like thunder. How could anyone stay calm when nothing ever stopped breaking? The next few days blurred together. Yibo slept often. Sometimes from exhaustion. Sometimes because it was easier than being awake. Xiao Zhan stayed in the room. Sometimes sitting by the bed. Sometimes pacing the floor. Sometimes just staring at the ceiling and wondering if love was ever enough. He held their daughter when she visited. He answered the phone when his sister called. He ignored every interview request, every agent, every script. The only thing he cared about now was the man who had once taught him how to breathe without fear.